Hi, Matt.
You good?
All good. I'm just going to get you on the screen now. Bear with me.
Do you want me on landscape or?
No, that's great. That's perfect. Hey, you got Faheen the machine.
The machine is there.
So everyone's on mute. Everyone's on mute. So it's just me, Ed, and yourself. I'm just going about, just want to go on about your career, and then we'll go through the Cheltenham Festival. If that's all right.
Okay, no worries.
So I hear you. You're from Guildford, and what got you into racing, Matt?
Hey. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to what we're calling this Diva podcast. How about that? I hope everyone's well in these slightly difficult times. What got me into racing? You know what? I'm not absolutely certain, to be quite frank. I just know that I always watched it from about the age of about 6. I still have them now. I used to record. I started off actually by recording every race on Channel 4 Racing in those days and the BBC. And then my tapes, which were VHS, I'm afraid, because I'm so old, my tapes got so long that I had to cut that down in the end. And I used to record like the final 2 furlongs of every race. But I just enjoyed the puzzle, the thrill, the drama, the speed, the colour, the characters. At the end of the day, there's so much in horse racing, and obviously betting becomes a part of it as well when you get older, but it's certainly not been always the part as far as I'm concerned.
And you've always had that saying, say it as it is attitude.
Well, that's what people say. I mean, if you actually listened to what I say, I don't think I really say an awful lot at all that anyone would think controversial. It's more that kind of, and this in no way sounds big-headed, because I'm not saying that the way I do it is right in any way, but it's almost that no one else says anything. So, and when I say no one else, that's clearly unfair. There are people who speak out and speak their mind. But it is a sport where historically, I don't think pundits on TV, at least, were expected really to say anything. I mean, certainly if you went back to the days of the BBC and, Julian Wilson and Oaksey on Channel 4 and all those kind of people, I mean, there was never really a reason for them to speak out or be. I don't remember those shows ever being that critical of rides or anything. I think that's just slightly evolved as everything has evolved in life, and criticism is part of life, I guess, a bit more.
Yes, and and you've gone on then. So just going back to you used to be an agent for Darrell Holland, who's now begun training, and how did you get into the agent side, and then you've now got into the TV side? What happened there?
Well, I mean, the absolute truth of all this is that, and one of the questions, obviously, in my position, I'm asked a lot is, how do I get your job? How do I become a broadcaster? How become a journalist? And I mean, if you follow my career, then getting sacked would be the answer to most of the questions. And obviously that's not ideal for most people. Look, I have worked really, really hard along the way. So there is that to it, although it might not seem it to the general public. But other than that, it's been a bit of luck along the way. And sackings, effectively. I mean, if you like, how I got my first job did show the worth of going to a good school. Although I hasten to add, before anyone starts thinking I'm toffee-nosed in any way, not that there is anything wrong if you are, but I'm not. I had music scholarships at school, which meant that my fees were halved, and that my parents could have therefore afforded me to send me to a good school. But it just so happened that my best friend at school, his godfather was a guy called Desmond Stoneham. Some of you will remember Desmond Stoneham used to be the French correspondent on the Racing Post many moons ago. And he worked for an organization called the International Racing Bureau. And 25, 30 years ago, the International Racing Bureau wrote everything to do with foreign racing in the trade papers, the Sporting Life and the Racing Post. And they had 4 people in their editorial department in Newmarket. And literally the day I left university, one of those people was retiring. and Desmond rang me up and said, his godson was called Charlie. He said, look, Charlie, you know, we've always known you love horse racing. You've just got a degree in history. We know you can write. Would you like the job? And I, you know, obviously just took it straight away, and it evolved from there. That was in Newmarket. I hated Newmarket with a venom. And I basically then begged the Racing Post for a very long time to give me a job on the Racing Post. I then got a job on the Racing Post. After 7 years of that, I realized that writing was never really going to fund any sort of lifestyle that was reasonable. And I became PR director of the Tote. I got sacked from that after 7 months for a reason that I'm quite happy to say, but I'm not going to, because I've written a little feature in the Racing Post that's coming out in a couple of weeks, I think, and it's in there. So anyone who can be bothered to read it can read it there. Literally, again, the day I got sacked from the Racing Post, a guy called Graham Greene, who used to write all the nasty stories in the Racing Post, i.e. the stories that no one wanted to write and no one wrote that actually had to speak to anyone like a trainer or a jockey. He was Darrell Holland's agent, and he rang me up and said, look, Matt, I know you've just got sacked from the Toad. I don't want to be Darrell's agent anymore. Well, how would you feel if I put your name in the mix? So obviously, sitting in my one-bedroom flat in Rains Park with no job, I said yes, and that's how I became a jockey's agent. So if you kind of look at it like that, it's quite hard to describe to someone else how you might get a job in racing.
And then from there, you know, you won Broadcaster of the Year in 2010, and Public Vote to be Racing Post Broadcasters World Cup that year as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, the two things I did right along the way, in my last year at university, I wrote to every newspaper, as often people tell you to do. And the only newspaper that responded to me was The Independent, which of course doesn't even exist anymore. The Independent news editor, who is John Cobb, who's recently been on the Racing Post, he asked or said to me, look, if you want to come in one day a week and just come and watch how a racing news desk works and cards and stuff, we'll put you to work. You know, you won't get paid or anything, but would you like to? So I obviously seized that opportunity, and I went up to Fleet Street one day a week during my last year at university, and I had a terrific news desk there. Many of you will know Greg Wood, who of course is the Guardian's head man. Paul Hayward, who is arguably the best sports journalist in the business, was on the desk. Richmond Edmondson was on the desk, and some of you may remember Richmond Edmondson. He doesn't write anymore, but his wife is Kate Adie, who does all the top news reports from war zones and stuff like that. And there was John Cobb. So when you've got that kind of talent on a news desk, you learn a lot. And I came up with ideas. No one did anything on foreign racing in those days. So I created a French 10 to follow and things like that. Just things that no one did at the time. And that was one good thing I did. And the other good thing I did, as some of you will know, who've followed the history of racing channels, in my sort of last 2 or 3 years at the Racing Post, I started doing a bit of broadcasting on the very first racing channel. The guy in charge there was a guy called George Irvine, and I begged him to let me do a bit. And he put me on the stateside shift, the sort of, the night shift. And we brought up quite a good following on that. Remember, there was no evening racing. There was no Kempton under floodlights, no Wolverhampton. There was no Greyhound racing at that time. So it was very popular stateside at that time. We'd get off at 1 a.m. with 300 emails that we haven't written out. Now, if you got 5 emails in a night, you'd be lucky, just because the world has changed and there's so much else you can bet on now. And during my time at the Tote, I still kept that up and did the odd shift on stateside. So obviously, once I left the Tote and I just had Darrell, I continued doing the odd TV show. And luckily, everyone has obviously a different opinion on whether I can broadcast or not. Some people say I just can't and I'm useless. Other people will say I'm all right. And other people are quite nice. So I managed to develop my way of doing it. And obviously, I'm where I am now, which is a very lucky position to be in.
And you've had, you've got ITV Racing now, but just going on to Sky Sports Racing, you've had a great time then. And what's been your favourite moment in Sky Sports Racing and at the races that can be? On the line, what a great programme that was. But give us your favourite moment.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with the two separate things. I hope everyone's still awake, by the way. The So the first thing to say is that terrestrial TV and Sky TV are two absolutely, you just can't compare the two at all. It's a different world. So broadcasting on each is very different. For instance, on ITV, any interview that's over a minute is probably too long. And if you actually think about it, it's very hard to ask people anything in a minute, anything that's worthwhile, which is why when some of you might get bored of people like myself saying things like, how did that feel? Or, what was that like? It's just simply because there isn't really much else you can ask in that space of time to get the answer you want. Sky is very different. I often start conversations on Sky with something that I have no interest in asking the person, but it's a means to an end. So my first question on Sky in an interview is usually not the question that I'm trying to ask them. And I have a point later in the interview, and my point later in the interview, depending on what that is, will depend how soft or hard I start the interview. So it's a completely different world from the point of view of interviewing. Look, on Sky Sports Racing, I used to love the Sunday Forum. I don't like the racing debate as much as I used to love the Sunday Forum, but times change and Sky is a different entity to what the old At the Races was. I used to love the phone-in show. A lot of people have asked me to bring it back, or not that I have the power to do that, but they've asked me, why isn't it there? And to be honest, it's not as simple as it sounds. For a start, Sky has none of the equipment involved. That's one huge issue. And the second, even bigger issue, actually, is that there's very little time on Sky Sports Racing when there isn't live racing, because we have all these contracts with racing abroad. To actually find an hour and a half, say, when there's not live racing, is almost impossible. Therefore, it's very hard to have that show on board because of all the Hong Kong, the French, the American, Australian. We have contracts with those people. And while there might be people listening to this saying, yeah, but we're not interested in any of that. Well, at the end of the day, they pay the bills for the channel. So that's why really On the Line doesn't go back. But I did love that show. It was good fun. But again, with shows like that, Ryan, you have to be careful, because the boss really wanted me to do it on the flat. And I really don't believe that the show would have been a hit with flat racing. So I said no and said, let's just keep it to jumps, because I just don't believe there's the passion amongst racing fans for flat racing than there is for jumps racing. Now, I'm not talking about the people watching this, of course, because you're owners. And if you had a flat horse, you would get as much excitement as you would out of jumps racing. But for a phone-in show, if I did a phone-in show on Royal Ascot compared to Cheltenham, I mean, the difference would, I would imagine, be about 10-1. So in other words, every 10 calls I got for the Cheltenham Festival, I get one call on Royal Ascot. There just is not the interest compared to the two. But yeah, I'd love that. On Sky Sports, on ITV, look, I never wanted to be the betting person on ITV racing. People say the next McCrick or something like that. I mean, I've never thought of it like that, because I simply don't do the same job as McCrick. I feel I'm an interviewer and a discusser of racing. I'm not a betting expert, to be quite frank. But you go for an interview and the people say to you, well, we want you to come and work on ITV racing. You're going to be the betting man. You don't then say, well, I don't want that job, and walk out. You say, okay, fine. So I ended up with that. But to be quite honest, COVID has been a blessing from my point of view, because, of course, it's meant there's been no betting ring. And obviously there was a chance I'd lose my job with ITV racing, as there is for many reasons on a regular basis anyway. But, there was a chance they'd just say, we don't need you anymore, because I was the betting man and there was no betting ring. But luckily, particularly when owners were allowed on track and we were allowed to do a bit more, obviously we're in strict lockdown at the moment, but back at the start when it was a bit easier, I did a little bit of betting, but then I did the winning jockey interviews and I did trainer interviews. So I ended up doing what I really wanted to do in the first place. So I have to say, from an ITV point of view, it's been a blessing for me. And look, I love interviewing people. I think people are interesting. I think, there's much more to people than meets the eye. And I like to see what I can get out of people. I like to see what side of people I can bring out. And I would hope that, if nothing else, I mean, I'm not expecting much thanks or much joy on my deathbed or anything. I think most of the people will be pleased to see me go. But I would hope that one or people would think that they've learnt or seen another side of some of the characters in racing via the interviews that I've done with them.
So let's go on to the Cheltenham Festival, shall we? After hearing about yourself and hearing what goes on the TV, terrestrial TV, and etc. So, shall we go on to the Cheltenham Festival? So you're working the 4 days,
yeah,
TV. So
yeah,
let's
I'm there
start.
for 4 days. I have no idea what I'm doing, to be quite honest. I literally, that's truthful. I've not been told what I'm doing, but I'm definitely there.
What? Just give me. Do you get on well with all the ITV presenters? Someone else asked me that earlier, and I wanted to ask you.
Do I get on well with them all? I mean, I don't get on probably that well with any presenters. I mean, that's probably doing myself. Look, I have mates like Jason Weaver. He'd be a mate. I've known him since he was a jockey. I used to sit on his bathroom floor in his house while he was in the bath losing weight. We've known each other a long way. I like Mick Fitz. I get on very well with Mick Fitz. I get on very well with Rishi Prasad. Ed Chamberlain I get on well with, but we slightly see things differently. I mean, Ed is very much a terrestrial TV man, and I probably come at racing more from a Sky Sports racing or racing TV angle. So I struggle a little bit with, boiling eggs and stuff like that. For me, I always feel there's enough characters in the game to make it interesting out of them. But look, having said that, I totally understand where ITV come from, and the viewing figures suggest that they're right and I'm wrong in many ways. So I can't really argue with it. Gina Bryce I get on really well with on Sky. Boise I get on really well with. Seb Sanders I've built a new relationship with on a show we're doing every Tuesday. But I'm not the easiest. Look, Ryan, I'm not the easiest to work with. Like, I take it
You
very
haven't mentioned
seriously.
Luke Harvey yet.
Sorry?
You haven't mentioned Luke Harvey.
I get on with Luke. Look, I tell you what, Luke would say this as well, because on Sky Sports Racing, there are what I call grafters and there are floaters. Like, Luke would be a grafter. So what I'm saying there is, I'm trying to be as honest as possible. If I'm sat in the studio and I'm the anchor and Luke is on track, I know we're not going to be lacking in interviews all afternoon. So that's what I call respect. And I think, look, I wouldn't go to the pub for a pint with Luke because we're totally different people. Like, we're just not, we wouldn't be mates in the real world. We're just totally, we're chalk and cheese. But having said that, and I'm pretty sure he would say the same, as far as work ethic is concerned and our performance and putting a shift in, for want of a better phrase, I think we would have huge respect for one another. And, I expect good shows. I get angry if people don't perform, Ryan. We're on air. We're in very lucky positions. I'm not good with people who aren't on the ball and trying to make things better. I don't like floaters, basically. It's like, I like trying to do a good job.
Well, we all know that, and it's been great, seeing you on TV. And to be honest, actually, you do to me personally, it's brilliant watching you on the TV. So let's go on to the ITV racing then. So let's go on the Cheltenham Festival. First race, Supreme Novices Hurdle. Yes. You see Appreciate It, favourite, 11-8 favourite. You got Harry Fry's Meteor, Bally Adam, who's just moved over to Henry de Bromhead's Soaring Glory, Betfair Hurdle. Your take?
Well, look, I think it is a festival for being boring quite a lot of the time. Not from the point of view of the races, but from the point of view of selections. There are people who don't think that Appreciate It is that fast. There are people who don't think he jumps that quickly and that he could get outspeeded in a Supreme. But as far as I can see, he's done nothing wrong. He was a sensational bumper horse. He's like what I like to call a good night out horse. He can do it from the front. He can do it from behind. He looks to me, I think he'll win. I think he'll be given a very strong, powerful ride because he's going to stay. He's not going to cave in. At bigger prices, if Metier runs in this, I was really impressed with Metier when he won at Sandown at much, much bigger odds. But I've got to be honest, I appreciate it to win the opener. But there are experts out there, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but there are people who question whether the horse is going to be slick enough, perhaps. But I think he will be.
Well, most of his form has been on soft, heavy ground, hasn't it? So, it's literally going to be a question mark.
Ryan, I know the clerk of the course says he's not going to water and all this, but, the ground will be no faster than good to soft. No faster than good to soft. It can only be softer than good to soft.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Mullins always does well in this race. How many he's won in the last 10 years, with the likes of the great horses for Heen. But yeah, appreciate it for you then.
Yeah, oh yeah, no problem.
So we'll go on to the next race, the Arkle. You got Shishkin. You got the great horse of Willie Mullins. You got All Mankind of Dan Scoutons. What's your take on this?
Well, people are probably about to switch off because they'll just be thinking this is a waste of time. I know all this. But I've long said on telly for months now, let alone weeks, that I think Shishkin is one of the great national hunt horses. I think he's the most talented national hunt horse in the United Kingdom right now, at any level, whether it be a senior horse or a novice. And I know he's a shade of odds on, but I think he's a massive price. And I'm doing a Cheltenham preview night on Sky Sports Racing tomorrow night. Shishkin will be my nat, and Ergumin will be my lay of the meeting, because obviously if I think Shishkin is an absolute certainty, then an Ergumin laying at 2-1 is a great lay. So look, I think Shishkin is right up there with your Sprinter Sacras, Masterminded, any of them. I think he's that good. I might be wrong.
So Shishkin, yeah. All Mankind, surely is Warwick winning the Kingmaker?
Oh, don't be silly, Ryan, come on. You're losing all your credibility with the Diva fans here. There's not one of your people watching this thinking All Mankind can win this. All Mankind has no chance against Shishkin. Zero chance. Pointless it being there.
Well, he might take him on.
No, it's not pointless, to be honest, because he's a lovely pacemaker. And he's nearly the same colours, yellow, black and white, rather than just yellow and black. So he can use him as a pacemaker. Look, All Mankind skip round those tracks. But the thing is, Ron, at this level, and let's hope Diva has a horse one day that will be in a race like a grade 1 like this. That's the dream, of course, of any racing club. At this level, there are good horses. There are very good horses. And then just occasionally there's something completely exceptional. And usually that horse actually does come in the Arkle. And I think, look, my opinion is Shishkin is exceptional, like completely different stratosphere. I'd be backing him to beat Chacun Pour Soi in the Champion Chase. So am I worried about All Mankind? Like, I couldn't even care if All Mankind got a 10-leg start at the start.
Wow, you're that confident. Shishkin and Appreciate It to start the accumulator for the festival then.
Yeah, by now we're already lapping up. We're forgetting any bad thoughts in our mind over the 2 weeks before Cheltenham, and suddenly we're thinking, hold on, retirement.
Let's go to the highlight of the Tuesday Champion Hurdle. Honeysuckle, Epatante. What a great clash that is going to be. Well, for me, I hope Goshen goes and wins for Jamie Moore and the Moore family. But let's hear what you think.
Yeah, I'd be with you. Look, I think I think Epatante, you know what I was just saying about these races, where there are very good, very good, and then there's something extraordinary. Epatante for me goes into the very good, but I don't think she's extraordinary. Now, Goshen could be extraordinary, and Honeysuckle could be extraordinary. So those are the two I'm concentrating on. Look, Honeysuckle's 1 all 10. She absolutely blasted in the Irish Champion. She might well win getting £7, but there is just that chance that Goshen is extraordinary. He's looked extraordinary 2 or 3 times, obviously before the Triumph, in the Triumph, and to be quite frank, at Wincanton last time, although the form of that Wincanton race, I think, is very suspect, because any of our viewers who backed Song for Someone in that race knew that they were beaten after about 1 flight of hurdles. That horse was never going that day. So what did Goshen achieve by slamming Song for Someone? I'm not quite sure. But there was still a feeling of complete and utter authority. Even the others who aren't champion hurdle class, but they're not bad horses. Goshen made them look as though they were platers. So yeah, I'll go Goshen and just pray that he is out the ordinary. And I'd have Honeysuckle over Epatante.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So we go to the Mares Hurdle. Will Honeysuckle definitely go to the champion hurdle?
Yes,
confirmed. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got Roxana and the Willie Mullins horse, the Mineur horse. What's your take?
Yeah, Concertista, the Mullins animal, will be favourite. But I like Roxana. I think she's a bet in this. She'll be about 7-2, I suspect, maybe 4-1 if we're lucky. Look, she's tackled the best staying hurdlers all season. She's not been disgraced. Her Weatherby win was incredible. She was pretty good last time. Her third at Ascot was honourable. She's very good. She'll stay all day. She's got a bit of experience at the age of 9. I think she's nearly the oldest in the field. In fact, she will be the oldest in the field now that Benny de Jeu's not going to run. So, yeah, I'd be with Roxana here over Concertista, who's obviously good, but it's going to have to be very good to beat Roxana.
And Dame de Compan, lots of money for her over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, Nicky Henderson will like the ground drying out. I can't see why that will beat Roxana.
Yeah, good form the last day. Yeah, I'm with you there. So we go on to the handicap, the Boodles. I just want to mention this. We've already know the winner for this. Gloria Zoff goes there.
Yes.
So he runs there. But no, what is your take on the race? It's always a great race. I love the Fred Winter. What a great race it always is.
I mean, I've got to say, Ron, until the decks come out, the handicaps are very, very difficult to know what's going to run. I thought Saint Sam, if he went in this, had an each-way chance. But look, it's going to be a tough race for the Zoff, it's fair to say. But that horse has already done everyone proud. Great to have that win first time out and be an Irish winner for Diva. I'd probably go Saint Sam, but the handicaps, I've got to be honest, I haven't studied that closely because it's just so hard when you don't really know what's going to run.
Let's go to the Wednesday. Start off the day with a Ballymore. You've got the Mullins again with the favourite, Gallard de Mesnil. You've got Bob Ollinger, Brave Man's Game. Brave Man's Game, surely?
Well, certainly Nichols has talked up Brave Man's Game. He says it's the next Denman. Mind you, he said Solo was the next Corto Star, and that's absolutely useless. So what you make of all that? Yeah. To be fair to Paul, he didn't quite say what I've said. I'm being slightly flippant there. I haven't got a massive impression on this race. I don't know where Bally Adam's going to go, but he's obviously talented now, Henry de Bromhead's. Gallard de Mesnil's obviously a good horse. I haven't got a strong opinion in it at the moment, to be honest. I mean, look, if Bally Adam went in this, I'd fancy him, but I'm not sure if he's going to run.
Not. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Nicky Martin's Bear Girls. Can that pull off a shock?
I think it's unlikely, to be honest, Ron. I think it's unlikely.
I was going to ask about Bear Girls, actually. I love the horse, but whether he's up, this is probably almost the race of the festival, isn't it, as the novices? So it's hard to say, but
look,
I mean, little team. Matt Griffiths coming off a Grade 1. It'd be a dream, wouldn't it, taking on the big boys, really?
I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Of course, it's a dream, and this horse could be anything. It's unbeaten 4 from 4, but it's won a handicap hurdle off 130. To win this race, you're probably going to have to be 155 horse, maybe 160. look, it was 130 then, it won by 5 lengths. I don't know what it's gone up to, but let's say it's gone up to 140. It's still probably got 15 to 20 pounds to improve again. Not impossible, but you asked my opinion and, I've given it, sorry.
we go on to the next race, the Brown Advisory, the 3 mile. You got Rich Ritchie's got 2 in it. Do you know Monkfish definitely goes there, and the Venetia horse? Where does he go?
Yeah, Monkfish will go for the 3 miler without any doubt at all, and he'll win it. Nothing more to say. He is the 3 mile equivalent of Shishkin, isn't he? I mean, if Monkfish was in the Gold Cup, I would be backing Monkfish to win the Gold Cup.
Okay. What you think he could be that good?
Yeah, look, I love novices. For me, the most exciting 2 races of the meeting are the Champion Chase and the Arkle. But I love the Arkle. I love the youngsters coming through the ranks. And we're very blessed this time around that we've got Shishkin, Envoyan and Monkfish. Now, from a punting point of view, they're not going to be 3 of the most exciting horses, of course. But it's not all about punting. Sometimes it's just about seeing something out of the ordinary. It's like watching a footballer do 10 spins or an overhead kick or something like that. You don't have to have backed a footballer to do an overhead kick in a match and collect. You watch that over and over again on Match of the Day. And, Monkfish just does things that other horses don't do. That Asterion Phalange, I don't know whether he's still in the race. I don't think he'll run in this because he can't win it. But I didn't think he ran terribly like Monkfish the first time he got round last time. If he goes in a handicap somewhere, he's got ability, that Asterion Phalange, and he actually jumped quite well last time. Yeah,
40 to 1. Yeah, he fouled 2 starts ago, didn't he? And the third start, I can remember watching him when he come 4th at the last day.
Yeah, to be honest, I did speak to Patrick Mullins about, because he rode him that day, and he was disappointed. He said to me, having jumped well, he was disappointed he didn't get closer to Monkfish, but I wouldn't have been as disappointed as he was, to be quite frank. I thought it well.
Not the Tizzards, the big breakaway each way?
I mean, if Monkfish falls, obviously these horses come into the mix, but I mean, I still couldn't back a Tizzard horse at the moment. It's just disappointing. And the big breakaway, I mean, he looked good on debut, but when you go back and watch that race, as was said at the time, he showed a little bit of attitude that day when he went out for the final circuit. Robbie Power had to give him a good 2 whacks on the side of the course just to get him to go out. And for me, since then, he's just shown that he might have a kink in him, I think, the big breakaway. I don't think he's completely all there upstairs, right? He'd be a good horse for you to own.
Let's go into the Queen Mother. Rich Ritchie again. Chacun Pessoir. Do you know what? I'm not in favour of him. I just can't have him. I can't have him this time.
Well, I think he's exceptional. I think he'll win. I do think that Altior is not the worst each way bet of all time, because he did not run too badly on his comeback, and he's going to run up the hill. At least if he's anywhere like the old Altior, he'll run up the hill. If the ground happened to be fast, which it won't be, but it's kind of stupid to say that, but the faster it is, the more chance Nube Negra has of pulling off a shock. But I don't think it's a deep Champion Chase at all. Political, much that everyone loves him and we all like a grey. He won a terrible, terrible Champion Chase. He's not, again, when we go to that list of very good and exceptional, he's nowhere near exceptional, Political. He's just a very good horse. We'd all love to own him, all the cliches, but he's eminently beatable. And I mean, look, Chacun Pessoir is going to beat Political. Altior could beat Political, and Nube Negra might have a chance if the ground was rattling. But I don't think it's a good race, and I think Chacun will win. Altior each way if you don't like Chacun.
And you have a good relationship with Rich Ritchie. Does Min run in it, or does he go for the Ryanair?
Min won't run against Chacun. He won't run against Chacun. They don't really like running 2 in the same race. So Chacun, I'm sure, look, Min's the defending champion in the Ryanair. He'll run in the Ryanair.
So we'll go on to the champion bumper. I don't know if you looked at the champion bumper, but you got Kill Crew of Willie Mullins, Sir Gerhard, 2 nice horses joining out the favouritism.
I mean, look, anyone who saw Kilcruit win will be just thinking nothing can beat it. And look, there is a danger here that you're judging a horse on one run. And whenever you judge a horse, as we all know, everyone watching this is experienced with horses. You judge a horse on one run. Is that the real run or is it the fake run? You never know until you've seen it again. But on that one run, it looked like an absolute monster. And to be fair, you're not absolutely judging it on one run because it's won 2 bumpers, and the first one it won by nearly 10 lengths. The second one, it just looked like it was Frankel in a bumper. It was an extraordinary success, and there's a big story behind this as well. The fact it was bred by Mrs. P. Mullins. It just looks very good. Out of a broken-hearted mare. I remember broken-hearted, very good horse for Fard Salmon back in the day. Richard Quinn.
How long ago was that? 40 years ago?
Why do you have to be like that? Just because some of us have encyclopedic racing brains, Ryan, doesn't mean we're old.
Well, you love biting to me. Right, let's go on to the next one. Thursday.
Let's go on to the next day.
Next day. The Marsh Norris's Chase. Envoy Allen again. That's a subject that we won't talk about. But, Envoy Allen would be fantastic to actually see him. He's a monster. But Willie Mullins has got the second favourite in it. The one that the lay of the meeting. But what's your take?
Look, I mean, you could argue Envoy Allen is a big price. I haven't been quite as blown away by him as everyone else. I've got to be honest. I didn't think he was that impressive when he won last time. The problem is, if I actually said that, I'd be absolutely shouted down. There's sort of like an Envoy Allen group now that just won't hear that he isn't Arkle or something. But I don't know. I thought Sporting John wasn't the worst each way back. I was quite impressed with him at Sandown last time. I mean, look, He's not as sexy on paper as Envoy Allen. I don't know. Now it's moved stables. I mean, to be fair to Gordon Elliott, he's trained this horse to absolute perfection. No one can argue with that. It's the apple. It was the apple of his eye. Look, Envoy Allen will probably win. But Sporting John each way, even Chatham Street Lad, if it ran for Mick Winters, he was so good at Cheltenham in the handicap. I don't know. I'll have a look on the day and see what turns up, Ron. But
Chantry House, very impressive at Wetherby.
Joking apart, I mean, you can back Envoy Allen at 8 to 11. The way it's talked about, why isn't it 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 or something like that? It's even the bookmakers seem to think that it's not an absolute certainty.
Well, would you worry about the change in yard so close to the time?
No. I thought that was just trainer talk.
Okay. Right, next race. We'll go on to...
I'll ask you this, Ryan. What's your average breakfast consist of? Are you a breakfast man?
Oh, I love some porridge, me.
Okay, so let's say you have porridge this morning, and then tomorrow morning you come to my gaff and you have to have cinnamon crunch instead, or Weetabix or something. It's like, are you then not going to be able to run later on in the day? I mean, you are, aren't you?
I wouldn't like the cinnamon. I wouldn't like the crunch. So I probably wouldn't eat it, and then I'd be, more lethargic, etc. I wouldn't be able to run that day.
If anyone watching has not had cinnamon crunch breakfast cereal, you are missing out. The best cereal in the business. And if anyone's got kids and they're struggling to get their kids to eat cereal in the morning, which does happen after a while, then I recommend cinnamon crunch wholeheartedly.
Just bringing on to, I don't know, but, didn't you audition for the X Factor?
Yes, twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
How did you get on?
Badly, Ron. Hence why I'm doing this.
Right.
Otherwise, I'd be releasing my 6th album by now. And I'd be I wouldn't just be a bit part owner with Diva Racing. I'd own the whole of Diva Racing and have every horse for myself.
What were you like singing? What kind of songs?
Should we ever go on Friday now? Well, we're done Thursday.
Let's go Thursday. Ryanair, Allaho, Imperial Aura, Melon. That's my fancy.
Well, that's always got you in trouble, isn't it? Imperial Aura for me. Horse
Okay.
fell last time, which is the strangest thing for one of the most magnificent jumpers in training. But some of you remember Corto Star falling at Exeter one day. It happens. I remember Desert Orchid. I'm sure he fell over hurdles one day as well. So look, it happens. I love David Bass. He is an incredible human being and just my kind of jockey. He's sort of like Richard Johnson, just throws them at everything. That's my kind of jockey. It's not everyone's kind of jockey. And he will go off prominently on Imperial Aura, who was a brilliant winner at the meeting last year. And I think they'll be very hard to catch.
Excellent. We'll go on to the Stayers Hurdle. Time Hill against Paisley Park, Cider Burley. Roxana won't turn up, but who's your take there?
Well, I was vaguely looking at Cider Burley, but I didn't think he ran that well last time. I was looking to see if there was anything amongst the outsiders, but there isn't. So I do think the old guard will dominate, the two from Ascot. And of the two, I think Paisley Park is a better horse than Time Hill. I just think he stays that little bit stronger. And if he can beat Time Hill at Ascot, I think he'll beat him further at Chapman.
Were you not impressed with Listener Gag Oscar at Haydock the last day after a wind operation?
I was, and I always have been a fan of that horse and a big supporter of him as well. I've always said he was a worthy winner of the Stayers. If you watch back his run against Roxana, he travelled like a machine until he blew up. Subsequently has had a wind operation. I've no idea why they chose the tactics they did when he ran at Haydock last time, which was to start front running a horse that usually comes from off the pace. But I presume it was something to do with the wind operation, and they wanted to I don't know what they were trying to do. But anyway, they completely changed his running style. But he ran right to the line. It was a good run. But I just think Paisley Park is a better horse when he's on song. You have to remember last year, Paisley Park was like a red hot favourite. I mean, it wasn't like it was a 5-2 shot or anything. Most people expected Paisley Park to walk the Stairs. Sadly, he had a problem. He's come back as good as ever. I think he'll win.
5-2, 11-4 Time Hill. Each way for me. Listener Gag Oscar. Right, we'll go on to the Mare's Dawn Run race. Rich Ritchie's got Hook Up in it. Does she go?
I haven't actually asked Rich about this race.
Okay.
It's not quite as easy to talk to Rich anymore because he are now, having had a sort of job doing other stuff with betting and stuff, he now works in the city once again. And although everything's shut down, obviously, he's very busy with that. So he's not quite as available as he used to be. Look, the Mare's Novice Hurdle looks very hard on paper, I think.
Yes.
I haven't got a massively strong opinion on it at this stage. I'll wait and see what turns up for the gig, to be quite frank. Perfect Myth of Neil King at a massive price. I thought I'd have a look at, but I'm not absolutely sure it's going to run, to be quite honest. So I'll wait and see. I haven't got a strong opinion, I've got to be honest, Ryan.
Each way for me, guys. The Glancing Queen in the Mare's, in the Dawn Run Mare's Hurdle. Right, we'll go on to the Friday. Let's start off the Gold Cup day. JCB Triumph Hurdle. Were you impressed with Tritonic on the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Be my selection. Very impressed. Look, a close to 100 racing flat horse who can jump. That's always going to be very hard to beat. The thing I enjoyed most about him at Kempton, there were 2 points. One was about 4 out when he came under pressure, and just with a shake of the reins and a little bit of a backhander, he took off like a Razi in mid-division. And then on the run-in, just the way he sprinted clear. Look, I don't think it was the greatest race in the world by any manner of means, but his attitude and the way he finished off was something truly special. Obviously, Zana here is meant to be really, really good, but I still think Tritonic will win.
And Adagio,
he'd be a very good
course and distance work.
Adagio.
Yeah, 10-1. I saw David Pipes put up his best chance of the week. So,
well, he probably hasn't got the chances then. But well, remastered in the National Hunt Chase would have an each way chance for Pipey. But look, I think Tritonic's very good.
The Albert Bartlett I know Barbados Bucks, Paul Nicholls was sweet on him last week. What's your thoughts?
Andy Stewart, yeah, trying to do the old big bucks thing. Got a chance. Barbados Bucks got a chance, certainly an each-way chance. I like Alaphilippe of Fergal O'Brien's 12-1 shot. Done very little wrong this season. Has run 4 times, won 3 of them. Was very impressive at Haydock last time in a grade 2. I'll go Alaphilippe.
For Fergal O'Brien, isn't he having a fantastic season?
Good trainer, good trainer.
Go on to the Gold Cup. Can it be 3 Gold Cups for Alboom Photo? Can he come back to be the likes of best mate?
Look, he can. There's no doubt about it. He could easily win again. Because he never runs, he's not a horse that I have much feeling for, to be honest. I've got to be honest. If he won 3 Gold Cups, he wouldn't really mean much to me even then. That's just the way it is.
Why is this? Why do you think? Why was it best mate was fantastic and now Alboom Photo? Is it because it's Irish?
No, I mean, even best mate ran a little bit more often. He just doesn't grab me. I mean, I never see him. Like I see him once a year, basically. It's very hard. I mean, imagine you had a girlfriend who you saw once a year. She'd have to give you a hell of a time that evening for you to remember her for the other 360 odd days. It's like, it's very hard, isn't it? It's like when you don't see something very often. I mean, it's like long distance relationships. The reason that most of them don't work is because it's very hard. And it's the same with Alboom Photo. Look, if it came up a bog, and obviously it's very unlikely to do that, but if it did, I wouldn't put you off Native River as an each way shout at all. But I am keeping this. This has shocked me because I admit he hasn't exactly set the world alight this season, but I've always thought Santini should have won the Gold Cup last year. And I'm hoping, and I texted Nicky about this yesterday and he's still not responded, which gives me hope that he is actually going to do it. I'm hoping Santini will turn up with blinkers on the day instead of cheap pieces. And I'm sticking with Santini. He's a big price for me. And actually, if you watch his run at Sandown last time, behind Native River on ground he wouldn't have wanted, he keeps running to the line. And this could be an absolute war of attrition with Native River going off fast. Froden will go off fairly quickly as well. You're going to need to stay strong, stronger than you have done in any of the trials. And the one thing Santini does is keep going. So Santini each way for me. And I'm a little bit surprised I'm going with that, but that's what I'm going with.
Champ, just a little bit on Champ. Were you happy with his second the other day? Was it a good comeback?
You couldn't be unhappy with it. It was a good run. I wonder if in the what I call the RSA, they all stopped a little bit. I mean, while his win was incredible, usually there's a reason why incredible wins happen, and I just wonder if it was more about the others than Champ's amazing ability. But time will tell. Look, he could be very good. I don't really know enough about him to have that stronger opinion about him. I mean, he's run once over 2 miles. I mean, it's fairly hard as a pundit to come on here and say, yeah, Champ will win. And then one of your listeners might say, well, what evidence are you going on there, Matt? And I go, well, actually none. It's hard to have an opinion on Champ, isn't it? Because what are you going on? Nothing.
So you go on to the Fox into the next race. I don't know if you've got an opinion on this, Bob and Co. Bill away.
I mean, the Fox Hunters, I always like Hazel Hill. When he won the race, it's fair to say that I put quite a lot of friends onto him. And it's always done me well, that. And I don't think it's impossible that he couldn't win it again at the age of 13. So I go with Hazel Hill. I haven't studied the Hunter Chasers that closely for obvious reasons, because I haven't been any Hunter Chasers and I haven't been Hunter Chasing or anything. So I haven't studied them that closely, but I always like Hazel Hill. Maybe at the age of 13 on the day, I'll just decide he's a bit too old, but he's still a very good Hunter Chaser.
So your nap of the meeting is Shishkin.
Yes.
And have you got an each way bet for the handicap? Any handicap?
I really haven't in handicaps. If I was asked my each way bet, it would be Santini, who is a big price. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not a very good punter and I don't know what the fields are. It's not my realms of expertise, I'm afraid, Ron.
Just for our listeners as well, it'd be just great to hear, what was your favourite moment in racing? You know, favourite horse and favourite moment?
I mean, I've had so many. I've been really, really lucky. Really, really lucky. I mean, I was in Melbourne when Maccabi Diva won her 3rd Melbourne Cup, and I can promise you the atmosphere that day was something I've never, ever experienced in British racing. It was something completely on a different planet. I went to Morphettville in Australia when Black Caviar broke the record for the most wins. That day, where people were queuing at the gates with flags cheering for the gates to open at the start of the meeting. Again, we talk about Frankel here, but we never had people queuing at the gates for Frankel. I mean, it's a different world. I was in America when American Pharaoh won the Breeders' Cup Classic, having won the Triple Crown. I was at Churchill Downs when Zenyatta came from off the pace. This is unbelievable. That was absolutely incredible. So picking out something, I mean, look, I hate to say it, but the atmosphere with foreign racing is on a different planet to the atmosphere with British racing. That is just simply the truth. We're very staid as far as events are concerned, and stuffy-nosed, in my opinion, in that, people are often looked at with disdain if they actually get excited by anything in this country. But over here, of the things that I've enjoyed, obviously Frankel has been incredible. I love
not name Faheen the Machine.
I mean, Faheen's been fantastic. Obviously, he's been a special horse for me. But I've had so many run. It's just like I can reel off. I mean, I used to love Cypher Malta. He was the most beautiful jumps horse I've ever seen. Big bucks, all he did. Istibrat charging around the hill under Charlie Swan. There are so many moments in this sport that are fantastic. I mean, when you look back at Altior's Supreme Novice Hurdle, beating Bouverdere and Min. It's just absolutely outstanding. And Altior was amazing. Sprinter Sacra's comeback. And that's not even talking about like Denman against Corto Star. And, I booked Darrell to ride Falbrav. He was incredible. There's just so many. Like, this is a sport where if you follow it, whatever anyone says, there could be good and bad seasons, but every season there's something that will grip you by the short and curlies if you have a pair. Obviously, if there are ladies watching, that would be probably not the case. You know what I'm saying? It's like a sport that always has something. It's always like the Premier League season in some ways. Like the goal of the season probably will always be something fairly special. And racing has the same thing. And it's not always the big occasion as well. As you know, as a racing club, Brian, it can be a little race at a little track that puts a smile on your face. I was there when the days Zoe Davison had a double at Plumpton, and then an hour and a quarter later she passed away. Those moments might not be celebratory, happy moments, but as a moment, they're very special and they stick with you. So, there are lots of reasons why. I've met some brilliant people. Oliver Brady in Ireland. Used to love going Irish racing when I was on the old At the Races. Miss it massively. The camaraderie over there is completely different again to over here. It's a different world. Look, I'm very, very lucky, Ryan, to have had no background in racing at all, and on a daily basis still to meet my heroes, to meet people that I am in awe of, that I never ever thought I'd get the chance to speak to, is something truly special.
Well, you spoke to me, Matt, and hopefully you'll be able to speak to all my owners at the races very soon.
Yeah, Ryan, look, you can't have everything. You have to take in this game the bad and the good, and that's sport.
Got a couple of questions, really very quick. A couple of questions to be very quick. Favorite on the line moment?
The favorite on the line moment was, and I'm not saying this just to be socially correct or anything, politically correct, but the old Dear Madge the age of 95, calling in once a week, sat on her home in her little house in Gloucestershire, being a big fan of Smad Place, taking her a picture of Smad Place for her birthday, and seeing the smile on her face. She passed away a few months later, not because of my visit, I hasten to add, was something truly special that you would never, ever believe could have come out of that phone-in show. But the guy who rang up and said Barry Geraghty was crap, and just by pure chance, one thing, one of the skills is being able to operate computers quickly while you're talking to people, and just being saved by Wikipedia from the point of view that Wikipedia usually only lists big race wins, but by pure fluke, Barry Geraghty's Wikipedia page listed his every Cheltenham Festival win, which isn't done for any other person. And to be able to just reel off every single one of his Cheltenham Festival winners when the guy said he was overrated was quite special, and it was just pure fluke. And I guess the one other moment in TV that, everyone will remember, I think, is Josephine Gordon when Tomo spoke about her mum. Yes. And I said nothing. And to be honest, that has been watched more times than you'd believe. But Ron, it's funny, just finally, you never know in TV what's going to be good. Now, I try and do things that no one else does. And recently I talked about a horse at Hexham that was running loose. And basically I just decided that I'd be the horse and try and commentate as if I was the horse. So, it was running loose before the race and I was going, pretending I was the horse, trying to escape capture. And that clip has now been watched. I think it's getting on for 3 million views. And in terms of length, has been watched the equivalent of someone watching it every second of their life for 3 years. And if you think about it, when all you're doing is pretending to be a horse running loose, it's fairly incredible that the clip could be watched that amount every day, every second of the day for 3 years would be the amount of time that clip has been watched, which is pretty unusual. So you never know. You don't have to have a brilliant interview. You don't have to sound clever, which is one thing presenters tend to like to try and do. You don't have to try and tell the audience you know everything about horse racing. Sometimes you can just do something a bit silly and it can be a hit with viewers. And funny enough, on a very final note, Seb Sanders and I do this Tuesday show, and Josephine Gordon sent me a message this morning, obviously a flat jockey, and she said, "I'm quite enjoying you and Seb." She said, "It was so nice that you don't talk about racing all the time." And that's from a jockey, and I just think that there was some sense in that it is TV at the end of the day. And while there will be some people who just want speed figures, finding out what your favorite biscuit is or what flavor of crisps you like or something like that, 9 times out of 10, it's those conversations that create the interest more than whether some horse is £3 better off for a half a length beating last time, which of course anyone who wants to know can look up. So it's always interesting from my point of view to see which things people latch onto and which things people get bored by very quickly.
Yourself and Gay Kellaway would get on well then.
Not in bed.
We'll leave it on that note. Is there a musical talent you want to end the Zoom call on?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Matt. It's been absolutely brilliant. We'll hopefully see you at the races very soon. And fantastic. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, I hope there's someone still listening. If I bored you all senseless, then it was your fault for tuning in. I'm living fear that you've got one of these things that started off with 8 people listening and has suddenly gone 7, 6, 5, 4, and now it's down to me and you, Ron. But if there's anyone out there, I hope you've not been bored and enjoy Cheltenham, enjoy Diva Racing, and let's see what we can do for the future and build the club up as best we can.
Thanks, Matt. Cheers. Much appreciated.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers, Matt.
Thanks, Ryan. Cheers, Ed.
I hope you enjoyed that, guys. It was, Oh, I really enjoyed that. A little bit about Matt. It just shows, he's part of the club. He wants the best for Diva Racing. We're going to meet him very, very soon. He's going to be coming down to a couple of stable mornings when everything opens up, and we're going to meet him at the races as well. He's going to come over for a drink. We've also got to try and set up an awards evening later on this year. We wanted to do it last year, but we are going to plan an awards evening this year. Hopefully, the destination is going to be at the Belfry. Probably be end of the year by the time everything opens up completely for us. But that's going to be something that Matt Chapman is going to be hosting, and I hope you'll enjoy that. So yeah, any questions, guys, for me and Ed before we go?
You can unmute yourselves now.
Oh yeah, sorry, a few of you muted yourself.
Ryan, what's happening with Glorious Soft?
Gloria's off. I wasn't going to touch on the subject. It's a difficult one.
I know you
for
weren't.
everyone.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's staying at the yard until Friday, until further notice. We're going to hear what the investigation says on Friday from the IHRB. But yeah, it's been a difficult subject, a difficult time for racing, but just truly, I know the staff at Gordon's and those horses are looked after entirely brilliantly. So we're just talking on the face of Gordon, the public are. So, but that's a different subject, and I think we could go on for a long time about it.
No, I was just going to ask, how are you going to run him at Cheltenham?
He'll definitely run at Cheltenham. He could move. The thing is with the licensing board, that you can actually move a horse from a licensed yard to a licensed yard 2 days before, when they're declared. So we could do it late on. Whatever's going to happen on Friday, I think there's going to be an assistant that's going to be taken over, or a licensed trainer is going to come in. And that's what I've been told. So, but we'll just wait till Friday and then everything will be clarified then. But he'll definitely go to Cheltenham, and he definitely has a great chance. He worked this morning with Jody McGarvey on board, professional jockey, very good jockey, and he worked extremely well over 2 miles. So a little bit of 20 or 16 to 1, I think he's worth an each way bet at a nice weight that he's got.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hi guys, just one quick thing there. I think you're doing a great job. How you handle the whole Glorious Soft thing has been exceptional, and delighted to be involved.
Oh, thank you very much, Chair. That's much appreciated. I love that. Thank you.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ian.
Just one thing I've been thinking about, actually. Obviously, horse welfare, and I know you don't really want to talk about it, but I think it's important to maybe for some publicity for you guys, actually. Obviously, I was involved with Chesterfield King, and I went to see him before Christmas, and it was an amazing experience, and thank you for sorting that. But one thing I suggested to Ed yesterday was that I think now owners and syndicates and everything, the focus is really going to be on retired racehorse welfare and the future. And to hear what Ed said last night about the horse has gone down to live on the with one of the yard girls who sort of fell in love with him and whatnot, I think it's really, although look, from my point of view, it's sad that he didn't we didn't get to see any more of him or see anything of him on the track because of COVID. But I think from your point of view, the way it's been handled and Ed's communication, moreover, I think is well, firstly, thank you. But secondly, I think it's a really good opportunity for you guys to put something out there and explain that it's a sad story that he's retired, but this is the plan for him, and the rehabilitation and everything that he's going through will only be beneficial for your syndicate, really, I think, moving forward. So thank you, and I think it's a good opportunity for you as well.
Excellent. No, it's great to hear that. No, one thing is, when I had Diva, was the main objective was to retired racehorses to have a great life, to hear what's going on with the horses. I've always said that. I've always my main aim. And Sir Victor, we retired him 2 years ago. He's actually down in Plymouth doing absolutely amazingly well. I've got videos that I do oddly put on to the social media. And we still keep his owners, actually his previous owners, intact with what he's doing and then videos, etc. So that is our main aim going forward with Chesterfield King. I'm going to be getting videos, etc. And I still keep in touch with. It's the same with Not Robin, who left recently. It is the main aim, and I think that is the best thing for the sport, because people need to know that these horses, 99% of the majority of the time, are looked after like queen and king. So yeah.
Hi Ryan, could I just ask about Ripperoo? Obviously, he's not going to be going to Newbury now, and I see he's got an entry at Newcastle. Are there likely to be other entries? Is Newcastle the sort of the actual preferred option now?
He's got an entry at Fontwell and Wincanton next week as well. And so I think Newcastle would suit him, preferably because it's a galloping track. I think it's a lovely track for him to go on. He's been on 2 tight tracks. Well, not tight, but a stiff enough finish will be at Fontwell, and Wincanton's sharp enough. I think just a lovely galloping track like Newcastle, huge course. I think I'd love to see him on a galloping track, and I think that's what he wants. So Newcastle Tuesday 11 entry, and Wincanton Fontwell next week.
Okay, great, thanks.
What a shame. It was good to firm ground on Friday. He just didn't want to risk him. He is a chaser in the making. Plus, it's going to be quick enough, and they're watering as well. And I don't really want to run a big horse on watered ground.
No, understandable.
Any other questions, guys? No? Fantastic. Ed?
Well, listen, thanks for tonight, Ed and Ryan. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Thanks, Harry.
Yeah, lads,
cheers,
keep up
guys.
good work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Cheers, everyone.
Guys.
Thanks for
All
joining.
the best, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.